HGC Western Clash 2017. We're into our third game of the day. What a great day we're having already. Fantastic series for the opening two. We've seen Dignitas winning 2-1 and Nomiya putting up a fantastic fight against the favourites earlier on. Time now to turn our attention to the Americas, because now we have one team from Latin America and one team from North America. Our first team are a bit of a stalwart of the heroes of the Storm scene and are having a very good start to 2017. A 6-1 record in North America. How will that shape up at the Western Clash? Let's introduce you to our first team on stage, Tempo Storm. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tempo Storm. And their opponents are a team who have fought their way through from the Latin American region after an absolutely fantastic final for them, being taken all the way. They are determined to stamp their mark on the HGC Western Clash. They are Infamous. Welcome, Infamous.
Here we have it, Infamous on the stage, joining Tempo Storm. And man, there's some bagpipes playing over there or something. It is the best thing
Live
ever.
environments, ladies and gentlemen.
You do not disappoint.
Yeah, so this matchup looks like a lot of fun, obviously, for a couple of reasons. One, because we had the chance to talk to them backstage, Infamous in particular, and they are very excited. So excited that I feel like they might be a little bit overconfident. They feel like that they can come into this match and absolutely dismantle the opposing teams. In fact, we did a little bit of a hypothetical situation. If we were to take Infamous and throw them in the top NA, where would they stand? They said within a month, we'd be #1. That's how overconfident they are.
They said 2 months, Trey.
Yeah,
2 months.
Okay, 2 months, my bad. Facts a little bit wrong, my bad. But still,
It's just alternative, it's fine.
It's crazy to think that confidence is floating around.
For me, the funny thing is really that they are playing now with Tyfix again, who is mostly like an Overwatch player right now, but he came in as surprise, couldn't make it. So all of a sudden, we asked him, like, so how does it work? Like, how many scrims did you guys get in? How much training do you have? And they said, like, well, we didn't play a single game with him, but like it's gonna be fine. We played with him in the past.
He literally said,
like,
all I have to do is pick a hero and hit Q.
Exactly.
I got this.
Yeah, pick a hero, hit Q, and just walk forward, and you got this.
It's pretty interesting because he is here in favor of Surprise, who had visa issues, but at BlizzCon, it was Surprise that ended up being there instead of Tyfix, who had visa issues for that event.
Surprise.
I mean, especially Jay Schritter, when you talk to him about Tyfix, he says that it's just a huge upgrade having him here, that he feels that they will be even stronger than before. They've been scrimming, of course, a bit in the last few days, but as you already said, Trix, like, they are so confident going into these games. It's incredible.
What do you think about Tempo Storm, man?
I mean, okay, think about this team form last July. They've won everything. They won both of the fall regionals. They're first in the North American region. They fell a little bit short at BlizzCon, but they're still looked at as the cream of the crop of North America right now, and rightfully so. They've earned it. Yep. And coming in against the team, I think overconfidence might be the word for them, but can they be shaken? I mean, we already saw in the very first series of the day, Misfits, that did not look like an easy set at all. I'm not saying we're going to see a repeat, but anything can happen in Heroes.
You can never count out the smaller regions or anyone in this tournament. Every single team has the potential to go all in. But we are ready for the map pick ban process for this series. So let's get to it and see what maps they're afraid of or looking for.
If you've done any research on Tempo Storm, they've lost 9 games total, 9 games. 6 of them are on 2-lane maps of Battlefield of Eternity and Braxis Holdout. 6 of their 9 losses on 2-lane maps.
Are you saying they shouldn't go to 2-lane maps? Is that what
Why
you're
would
saying?
you ban one out if you know your opponent?
That's the confidence coming through from Infamous Gaming. They are banning out Braxis Holdout. They allow them to ban out Battlefield Turn. They're like, all right, let's go to
beat
your
you on your
maps.
best. Yeah.
Excited to see. So I actually missed out. Which battleground are we
Sky
going
Temple.
to? We're going to Sky Temple. Okay, so again, when it comes to macro games, Tempo Storm has been absolutely the best in North America.
Oh, yeah.
They play on the bigger battlegrounds, and they do very, very well. So obviously, they're in a comfort pick here.
I find it very interesting the way that they approach the tournament. I mean, not only let's talk about the maps and the match against Infamous, but they set their goals really nicely. Because the last time when we talked to them, we talked at BlizzCon. And for example, Cawthon in particular said after the tournament that he just misjudged the gap between the European region and also North America. And he wants to see how much that gap has been closed thanks to HGC. And one of his huge goals here is to at least make sure that they are kicking one of the European teams out of the tournament. So this is for them a bit of a stepping stone. But as Jake already said, you shouldn't count out those smaller regions because, yeah, Misfits, they struggle a lot more than we were expecting against the Australians.
But Caldor, when we talk about Tempo Storm, your point is exactly correct. They ended up going to the Gold Club at the end of November as well. So they had international experience double up. So it almost feels like more pressure is put onto them, as in they should have learned more by facing that international competition. They are winning games, and they're #1 in North America, but they don't look like a team that will just come out and be like, we're taking you 2-0, and there's nothing you can do about it. They haven't convinced me yet. I want them to see them take a team that they should beat, and I want to see them beat them convincingly and put a stamp on this tournament.
Well, it's draft time here. Sky Temple between Tempo Storm and Infamous for the first game of the series. Now, overall, it's a larger battleground. What are your expectations for the bans? Just completely standard, or will there be more emphasis on the globals?
Well, it's going to be interesting because from Infamous, they mentioned to us that they're ready for global pressure to come their way. So potentially targeting out some important supports could be a good pickup for them here. Tempo Storm has banned out Dahaka. Now Infamous Gaming will have the choice for them. Now, it's kind of weird because in their region, they ban out comfort picks. If you ban out a comfort pick in their region, you're pretty much set up. But here they have to start to decide what to deal with on their opposing side, and they ban out Zeratul.
I love that already, because not only do we have a huge priority on Zeratul when we're looking at the North America region, but Tempo in particular has a 9-1 on Zeratul, which is pretty insane. So you can already tell that Infamous definitely did their homework.
And this is the first Tassadar pick of the tournament. First time he's made it through the bans.
It's a little bit surprising, but different region, perhaps a different meta, they're going to get it. What we see oftentimes in North America and Europe is you take a Tassadar, you pair it with somebody like Vala, it increases the value of a Tassadar pickup. It's also a really good pickup in general, but can they take Vala away in the early draft?
Yes, that's where we see Infamous Gaming, and we'll see if they're ready to adapt to what you need to do in the Western Clash. They have yet to play a Vala in the last few series that they've had. They usually try to prioritize Tychus, Falstad to a degree, even KT a lot. So now they're making the decision here to take away a hero, and I would highly recommend to get rid of that Vala. As we know, the Tassadar-Vala combination is absolutely insane in terms of win rate. They pick up Malfurion. Please, for the love of bananas, pick up Vala. No, they go for Falstad instead.
Jay Shrute has always leaned on that false
loves
side
it.
whenever he possibly can, so I'm not surprised here. And we might actually see that Vala come into play.
It's a scary prospect to give up. And the one thing about Tempo Storm is that on a map like Sky Temple, it's very standard for a lot of teams, but they instead go Tracer, which is a little bit scarier. But you oftentimes never see Tempo Storm without a global on this map. With Tassadar, it makes Brightwing a possibility.
And now immediately we're actually seeing a Tracer also with the Tassadar combined. We talked about Vala quite a bit, and she's of course absolutely fantastic. Trixel, if you're mentioning the win ratio that we have on her, it's just one of those combos that is so incredibly strong. The same is true then again for the Tracer. So now, with that being said, we are facing now a situation where Infamous Gaming has said several times, we've scrimped against North American teams, we know their style, and we faced them with 150 to 180 ping. And they were actually talking about how when they all of a sudden have like land ping, they can take down anyone. And they kind of have to do that if they want to stop that Tracer in our tracks. Because Zelia, he talked to me after the last game where they played it, and he said like, dude, on these servers, we have 0 ping. Everything happens so fast, playing Tracer here is a dream.
I got a feeling, I'm looking at the camera screen right there, Cattle's looking over saying, hey guys, do you know that they just gave us Tracer Tassadar? Do you believe this?
Yeah, that's the point I wanted to bring up, is with the Falstad being picked up early here for Infamous Gaming, Tracer is a menace when she gets on top of Falstad. You can burn him down quickly if you watch out for that barrel roll, you drop the pulse bomb, and that's a dead Falstad, right? So great pickup for Tempo Storm. Now they ban out the Varian.
I mean, that's completely because Varian against Tracer kind of makes her a sitting duck, and that's no bueno. Yeah.
Point and click. Yeah, that's a perfect ban there. You've got to have something to deal with a Tracer coming on that backside. They 100% have to have that. I'm trying to figure out, they've already banned out Zeratul, Varian's off the board, Dahaka's off the board. They've got to start looking for ways to take advantage of not only map, Falstad will accredit that, but as you said, Tracer is one of the biggest threats to Falstad. It's nice that you can barrel roll out, but that will not gain you distance against a good Tracer player.
Well, looking over at Infamous Gaming, Ragnaros will be picked up. Now, their tanks they run often are ETC, but with ETC already being picked up by Temple of Storm, Infamous Gaming waiting to pick up their Warrior. Instead, they move straight into Tychus, wanting to get their players set up here as Insecure.
Let's just talk about the fact that they're leaving their tank pick for last for a player that has been focusing on Overwatch. He retired. He's here as a substitute. He's been playing Overwatch Pro, and yet he still feels confident and flexible enough to be the last pick on the team. I mean, it might just be Muradin because that's old school when he was like really prominent in the scene, but that's really interesting.
But if you're trying to deal with Tracer, if you're trying to play it safe, you've got good damage and Falstad Tychus. Would a Johanna pick, as much as like Johanna is less in favor than most teams, just blind the minute she comes in?
Scares me on Sky Temple, but I see your point with Tracer. It's Sky Temple that worries me.
I would totally agree with you there. On a different map, I would have said like Johanna is going to give you some added value, but here I would be very careful before picking a Johanna on Sky Temple. I really feel like going into a different front line would help. But like,
oh man, this composition.
So we have a Vala and a Tracer, so Tassada's going to be sitting there like, who wants the next shield?
Jake is grinning.
So is Temple Storm.
No.
You know why I'm grinning. This is absolutely potential for Bloodlust. I don't think it'll happen, but I can dream, man.
And there's a Muradin lock in there, just a character that Tyfex is so comfortable on. He's played it in the past. Again, he's now currently playing Overwatch. He's came back to help his team do well here in the Western Clash. Get him on a hero that he's comfortable with. But with a Tassadar being available here, lockdowns be pretty hard for the team, Infamous Gaming, to actually land down that isolation.
I mean, let's talk about the one problem that we're definitely having on the side of Tempo Storm. Yes, they're playing a double support, but they're still running this with only one frontliner. So if you have the Tychus against you, he will jump on the bigger they are and try to burst you down as fast as he can. Tassada is already looking at 2 targets for his shield. He has Tracer to take care of, he has Vala to take care of. So if both of those heroes are really trying to utilize that shield and go deep, then all of a sudden he has 3 targets, and like that's going to be a balancing act that is not easy to accomplish. So I think this is the one weakness that Infamous is going to try to exploit.
Luckily, I feel like that burden is slightly mitigated with Rhaegar being there, so now you can say, all right, Tassadar, you watch Tracer, period. And then Rhaegar can sit in the back and try to deal with Vala, and of course, to take in the front line.
Yeah, I expect to see the coordination to be, you know, optimal in this situation. They've played with this style. I'm actually pretty sure we've seen them play with this exact draft a few times as well. Even though Tracer and Vala don't always get picked together, it's still phenomenal here. They needed that ranged assassin, and Vala is going to be great.
I think their whole team is going to be great this game. The only thing I wonder, it's something that we've seen a lot more because Odin is such high priority for Tychus, is that could we see Stage Dive or Mosh Pit? When you're in Odin, there is no interrupt, but...
That's true. We'll find out, but let's hop into game number 1. Take it away, guys.
Tempo Storm versus Infamous, NA's finest versus that of Latin America. And here to bring it to you are the smooth stylings of Dreadweed. Tempo Storm in the blue dread.
Yeah, we're going to have Psalm there on the Tracer, going to wreak havoc here against Infamous. Cottonluck onto the Vala. Caterpillar will be on to the Tassadar. You know, a favorite of his here, Fury on ETC. And last but not least here, June is going to round it out onto the Rhaegar.
Meanwhile, over in the red are Infamous Gaming from Latin America. They'll have Unusual playing Tychus genre on Ragnaros. Playing Muradin will be Typhix, as we mentioned before, subbing in for the team, but ready to bring it to Tempo Storm. Jay Shritta playing Falstad. And finally, the support player D-Blanc playing Malfurion. And D-Blanc's playing for a lot here. His daughter Amelia is watching from at home. So we really wanted to give her a shout out. He's playing for a lot here, but you know, Tempo Storm's not going to make it easy on them.
I mean, especially with this composition that we see for Tempo Storm. Not only is it, you know, everybody kind of fears a little bit of the Task Tracer, but more than anything, it's just going to be the comfort also when it comes to this draft for Tempo Storm. But I mean, that being said, you know, we already saw Misfits struggling there against Nomiya. And who's to say any different here with Tempo Storm, considering, I mean, Misfits was projected to be kind of the favorite here of this tournament.
Absolutely, and there are a lot of comfort picks over on the side of Infamous as well. They've played a lot of Falstad here on Sky Temple. They're on a battleground that they love to play on, but Typhix is in trouble. He's already been caught, and that'll be first blood for Tempo Storm.
Tempo Storm here with the lead. Psalm's going to get the recall there, baiting it out a little bit, showing the Falstad that, you know, he's got it under control. He's got the moves. He's got the moves. Exactly going to be the case. Tempo Storm here with that first blood, though, is going to set the tone here for this pace. we're waiting here for the first shrine phase, going to be spawning in the next 40 seconds. And when that happens, that's when the Task Tracer takes off, right? They have superior rotation, skirmishing for the most part. It just becomes a very difficult comp to deal with right now.
But Infamous do have Falstad. They may want to put him in bottom lane. For now, leaving him in the mid and letting Ragnaros be the one to push that bottom lane. Do you think we're going to see them switch out?
Oh, Pulse Bomb not going to be enough there. Switch out the Falstad onto the bottom lane. It makes the most sense just because Ragnaros with the wave clear is going to be superior over than until Boomerang comes into play for the Falstad, so it makes the most sense to make that be the Ragnaros. That being said, you do lose the surprise potential of the Falstad flight.
Definitely. So Infamous healing back up Falstad after taking damage from the Pulse Bomb. For now, teams trading out, but Tempo Storm holding onto the mid, and Infamous want to get aggressive. They want to start to move in and steal away some of these bullets. Typhix is going to jump in. Stormbolt connects. June's going to move into Ghost Wolf form and move back, and now Psalm jumping back in.
He is not done. He's going to be chasing here as much as they can get. It looks like only one is going to be the case for Tempo. Cawthon, he's throwing out a bit of damage, but I did expect Psalm to be a little more hyphy there. But the patience is going to be shown, and it's not really needed, considering we already sitting 2 minutes and 30 seconds in the game. One entire shrine controlled pretty much for the most part by Tempo Storm, and now they're going to be moving up top with that level lead.
Full level lead. Kala's Light coming into play too for Tassadar. That'll be very handy for both Vala and Tracer. Really anybody who's able to get that Tassadar shielding. We'll try to keep track too of K-Darian Resonance and when Tassadar can start to get those permanent shields for his teammates.
Yeah, we see on the side of Infamous Gaming that Falstad and Malfurion are kind of forfeiting for the experience. A lot of the shots here on top, but Infamous looks like they're kind of torn on what they want to do. There goes the flight. Stormbolt's not going to connect there. Typhix, trying to do the casual walk up and you just queue your opponents, but not quite in range yet here. As, we see on Cattle on Tempo Storm is just soaking onto the side lanes. Right now, Tempo Storm is just, if not overly aggressive, they're pretty calculated when it comes to their play with such a dominant composition and a fearful one.
Yeah, but I really like these rotations. They're like, okay, we could fight over this, or we could just get further ahead, get back to the lanes faster than our opponents, get started on the mercenaries faster than our opponents. They've already gotten bruisers up in top. They can move down, maybe even invade at this point and be able to try to steal the Siege Giants away from Infamous.
Yeah, Infamous here, they do have a tough question when it comes to the next couple of seconds, or more so a minute here on Sky Temple, whether or not they want to consider, trying to abuse the global onto the top half there with the Night Camp, or if they want to consider more when it comes to Giants. Tempo Storm has opted towards the Giants here, and now are collapsing with some pressure. But Infamous, they'll pick up their own, and we'll see if they can clear this out or make a power play, because I really feel like capitalization on that Night Camp with the Falstad is in their best interest, purely based on it's unrealistic to bank on getting this bottom shrine at this point, falling this far behind in experience.
And it's nice for Infamous. They cleared out the Giants of Tempo Storm fast, so there's not going to be any further pushes, and in fact, the Giants still nice and healthy for Infamous. So making sure to save those pivotal structures, the towers in front of the fort, and especially the well, so that they'll have that when the next temple phase comes into play.
Yeah, and also now with the 7 mark hitting up, with the Falstad on its split push, that Boomerang, the wave clear just becomes, it goes from just not existent really, other than a couple of auto attacks, to, taking out half the HP with just one solid Q there. And that will only help further this. But Infamous, they've done a very good job in this bottom lane. Almost like a lack of rotation on the side of Tempo Storm has cost them a bit of experience. So very good job there, capitalizing on Psalm being in the mid lane.
Cattle's also been pretty constantly separated from the rest of Tempo Storm, so they can't take as much advantage of those Tassadar shields. And we've got Tracer, we've got Vala. They want to be getting the plasma shields from Tassadar, so we'll see how that changes as we get ready for the next temple phase, which will be in the bottom.
Yeah, it does make me a bit concerned, because we often, when looking at Tempo Storm, at the top of their game, they come up with the plan, they execute it, and you can tell when things are clicking, Tempo Storm looks like a new team, but when they do not, suddenly things seem to fall apart. For now, they seem to still have that control. But that being said, maybe not as much as I would have expected out of them, especially considering, again, they had a full level lead and an entire shrine to really kind of play around with experience. And Infamous did make proper rotations, but it's not like Tempo did anything to, make sure they secured that lead.
Well, this could be the place that Tempo Storm really start to break the momentum open for this game. They have heroic abilities nearly here. They've gotten a strong start on this bottom temple as well. And with heroic abilities here for Tempo Storm, Infamous just has to give this up. They're going to continue to push. They're going to do as much as they can with Falstad too, but Tracer and Tassadar are starting to head up. Maybe they can get the pick on him.
Yeah, I got to check out for Psalm. They're going for the flank. There's going to be 2 at the dashes. The W comes out. Jay Shrite with the barrel roll. Misses the pulse bomb. Good dude. good juke there.
But he's not done yet. Psalm still being able to continue this chase. Jay Shrita will go down just as Infamous were almost about to maybe get 10, but they've done a great job, at least at this point, of pushing on to the tempo, utilizing the fact that Tempo Storm did send quite a few members up in the rotation, and Stage Dive even had to be used by Fury to get out of trouble.
Just looked at Infamous there, trying to capitalize on the fact that, you know, Psalm was up on top, and he's just like, see you nerds, I'm out. I got this. Mosh Pit is going to be, or excuse me, Stage Dive used, but very worth cooldown considering a kill and, you know, a majority of the shots that are on the bottom and not losing HGC. Right now, Tempo Storm has, you know, kind of redeemed that full level advantage that they had before. The question is now, will they be able to hold on to that? Because Falstad, you know, Jay Shrite has done such a good job of getting that soak elsewhere. The Tempo never can really pull out of control in this game.
And now that heroic abilities are here, if Tempo Storm can't have some sort of advantage for the next Tempo phase, that's a spot where Infamous can really try to bring in their team fighting. They do like to fight. I think that they are fantastic at, even when they're down talent tiers, being willing to say, we have to take this fight here. They're willing to do that. So we may even see them do that even if Tempo Storm does have 13 advantage for the next Temples.
Just a bit of posturing here. For now, Tempo Storm is not opened up enough of the map, or at least a lot of the grouping for them being up in towards mid and towards the top half. It doesn't seem like they're trying to punish in areas where they know their opponents have, you know, a long distance of safety, considering mid 4 and bottom 4 have been removed. They are very comfortable just waiting it out. And I don't know how I feel about that. I want to see Tempo, you know, just move more and more aggressive, further their lead in a lot of these situations, especially with such an iconic, aggressive composition like this. But at the same time, I can see that we're on a big stage here. You know, we're at a Western Clash. There's a lot on the line. And being patient when you have that lead, not risking anything, may just be the, you know, safer start, at least to a tournament. Talking about safe start, Fury here.
Pulse Bomb is on Deep Blanc in the back. Tracer's in trouble, gets hit by Twilight Dream.
That Dream was enough to secure the kill here. Strafe's gonna come out as well. Genre and the rest of Infamous taking a bit of damage. Cattle gonna pop the E though. Odin has been used. Unusual, there's gonna be the power slide.
Power slide in, but Gust immediately followed from Jay Shrita to let Fury, or to get Fury away from his teammates. Infamous now down a talent tier, at least a level, or a level here, but making sure that they get rid of Tracer and buying some time to get caught back up.
Yeah, they need to try and capitalize on the small window here. And with Tracer down, it's probably just most likely Tempo's going to be able to trade shots here. Not in the best interest, especially considering that Night Camp still applying pressure there in the top lane for Tempo Storm. So things still look pretty, even though Infamous, you know, looked to show signs of life here in this game. Kills, though, still sit just 3-1.
Now, Dread, we were talking about maybe reasons for Tempo Storm to be more passive in the early game, and I looked, and Psalm has not played Tracer for the team in HGC so far. Now, obviously, they're coming in. This is the first time we're seeing Tempo Storm at the Western Clash, but it's been Cattle in the past, I believe, and maybe that is the issue. I would think that maybe they wouldn't come in the first game and play something they're uncomfortable with, but we'll have to see.
Getting past Tracer is a very, you know, satisfying thing. I can see no team really trying to give that up, but man, Psalm here is on pursuit here. That's going to be one dead mouth. Deep Blank is going to be deleted, and Usual seems like he's going to share the same fate here, and the recall is going to happen. Tempo Storm now pulling ahead with a 3-for-0 trade.
3 kills for 0, and Tempo Storm will happily take that and turn around for a boss. Falstad gets the rest of the shots on top. As you can see, now half of Plasma Shields will persist indefinitely with K-Darian's Resonance halfway done. Here is a boss for Tempo Storm. Very important moment for them. Again, back to that level lead over Infamous. Infamous will do their best to try to defend this, at least knowing that the Tempo phase mostly done. There's just a few shots left here in the bottom, but how much can Tempo Storm get done with this?
A lot, because they're going to be able to hit the 16 window relatively soon. That front keep wall right there is enough experience to secure that 16 mark. Now the question is, do they want to go through mid, which Tempo has already decided. In fact, not pushing with the boss, they don't think they can get a keep, so a double front wall. What this is it gives you not as much experience. It gives you roughly 2/3 of the experience you would get by pushing through bottom. Obviously, you won't have the catapults, but more than anything, suddenly every shrine is a lethal. It's looking towards a keep to be able to open it up. It's, again, a safe but calculated decision out of Tempo in this game.
Now, there's even one tower down in front of the top keep, too, so even getting a Tempo up there would be able to get a lot of value for Tempo Storm. There's the 16 talents coming into play. for Tempo Storm. Infamous still a level away from getting their own.
Yeah, it's nice that, we see phase disruption there at level 16 here for Cattle. It's only going to make it, if it's on top of the pulse bomb target, it's just that much more DPS and kill potential coming out from their composition. I really like that choice here in this comp overall. That being said, it's, in general, I think it's leaning towards the standard, if you will, at least towards the North American teams.
Aggressive shredding for Fury too pairs very nicely with Progressive Rock at level 1. Now he can supplement the healing even a little bit more, make it harder to kill. But speaking of kill, Fury's the one who's in trouble. At least he was. Cleanse on a Genre.
The big gust is going to isolate the team, but Genre is still barely trying to keep himself up. He ends up going down. 2 members of Infamous already gone now. Tracer is going to be chasing Typhex, and it doesn't look like this dwarf has enough in him to be able to survive. He is going to buy time for the team, but Infamous here again struggling in these skirmishes. Very aggressive stage dive coming up from Fury. That is not Tempo Storm-esque. Especially Fury to be the aggressive one, let alone opening with that initiate. Yeah, it's just very nice to see that kind of almost confidence being restored here for Tempo.
Yeah, and it is an aggressive composition. They knew they were ahead. They knew they had 16, so it was a time to make something happen. They had all of the Giants in bottom 2, so it's such a great window for them to not only get kills off of a team fight from Infamous, but to delay them and not let them go back to defend. That'll be a keep for Tempo Storm now, and they're looking toward the ability to end the game. There's a temple available on bottom, a little while still until the next boss, 2 minutes, 30 seconds until they can get that potential win condition.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough spot now. Infamous has to push out with that 16 and look to try and force the fight. Honestly, maybe forfeiting the shots would be in their best interest. Ooh, false that. Jay Shrite here is going to get chased down. Psalm, there's going to be 1 Q coming out from him. He ends up, Pulse Bomb is going to land. It connects. He ends up popping the W with Gust, and he's going to be all right. Meanwhile, though, look at this. The collapse onto June.
Oh, June's in trouble. In Ghost Wolf form, there's nobody to butt by over the wall. Stage dive comes down. Ragnaros drops the Sulfurious Smash. Rhaegar's dead.
Not fast enough of a Doge to be able to get out of that. Now, Tempo has responded. They transition towards bottom, but not going to risk that 4 versus 5 here now that we see Infamous on the 16 talent here with them. That being said, getting these shots has secured structurally not even a fort yet. There's going to go down, and so, yes, this is a moment of fresh air that Infamous can kind of deeply inhale, but structurally, they are so far behind that they need much more. They've got to look to try and capitalize on the lack of June, and it's going to start with Cattle here in mid, and sadly, that's usually not the target you want.
Not so much. He'll have Dimensional Shift. There is a stun and root. Dimensional Shift use all of Tempo Storm coming in to supplement. 15 seconds until Rhaegar is back for Tempo Storm, and they can look for more. Just trying to soak to make sure they can still get 20, but now Cattle gets caught. Has to use Archon, so he gets the Dimensional Shift again. Gust?
The Gust, the split. Now Cattle ends up popping his E once more, dodging the Twilight Dream, but the root lands onto Fury. Power Slide's going to happen out. It looks like Typhex's going to stun out. There's going to be the Molten Core.
Molten Core starts to siege down the structures of Tempo Storm, but thankfully, it's just Hastar. Everyone else gets out in time because that Molten Swing is scary.
I have to question what Cattle was thinking. After popping the E the first time that gets caught out, he moves again, aggressively moving into them. That being said, Jay Shrite's flanked to say, hey, I'm done with this messing around. You are gonna take this fight right now. Very well done, but looking at Cattle, after that first E is gonna be burnt, overly confident positioning.
Well, Cattle is the shot caller for the team, so maybe just not quite being able to move into position. Yeah, follow up from that too. And Archon does give you Dimensional Shift back, but unfortunate for Tempo Storm that they have gotten ahead, and then Infamous have been able to come back into this game because of these couple of catches that they've had. Again, this is something that has happened to Tempo Storm quite a bit.
Yeah, we talked about the confidence within their play whenever everything is going right versus when it goes wrong. But things are still going kind of right. That was a minor misplay, yes, and it did cost a bit for Tempo, but just because the structural advantage that has existed so early on in that and, closing in on to 20, they still are, it's their game to lose at this point, especially considering it is Sky, but, a couple of choices maybe not necessary for Infamous, or on the side of Tempo, and Infamous, they're doing a very good job. Their capitalization is far better than I expected to be here in this game.
Tough times for Infamous, though. No 20 about to hit for Tempo Storm. There's a temple top, but a boss in the bottom, and Infamous knows that they have to be conscious at all times of where Tempo Storm are because their keep is gone in the bottom lane, and that boss is everything to Tempo Storm.
There's going to be the Sulfurious Smash. Good dodge coming out from the Tass that are their Cattle. Will survive. Jay Shrite is still on top, so this is something that, as 20 is going to be ticked in here, Infamous has to retreat.
Stage dive there, Ice Block immediately follows. Psalm starting to jump in, but still has Pulse Bomb, not choosing to use it just yet.
Yeah, there's going to be an Odin use, and that It's a cooldown, you know, Infamous might need it in the next couple of seconds here, as they're going to be able to pick up the 20. The keep's going to end up falling here in mid. But the top keep is going to be secured for Infamous. So, you know, it's 2-1 in the trade. Obviously, Temple's still slightly ahead, but Infamous has a win condition now. With that top keep going down, they aren't so concerned about, you know, going trade for trade, because one good fight, they have lethal.
And it gave them so much experience to boot. They've now almost caught up getting talents, storm talents of their own. Interesting storm tier talent for Cawthon at level 20 Vala, getting Rancor to increase her attack speed versus getting the Farflight Quiver that we usually see there, or even Death Siphon to give her a little bit of extra healing of her own.
Yeah, that is a rather interesting pickup. Talking about the 20s, though, Fury still going to keep that hidden here. Infamous is going to force this boss. When it comes to boss control, the Gust is something we have to consider, but Tassadar's pretty good at dodging that. Stage Dive is not going to be up yet, but there it's going to go. It's sitting, so Fury Smash used. There's going to be Cattle. He's going to pop the Archon. There's going to be the Gust.
Dimensional Shift! They get the boss! Tempo Storm in trouble now against the boss. They want to win this team fight. Twilight Dream!
That dream was huge. Typhex goes in. Q's not going to connect. Cattle is on retreat with the rest of Tempo. Genre ends up getting killed here. Now the rest of Infamous on retreat. Typhex goes in. He ends up popping the W, but the Stage Dive!
Stage Dive from Fury, and Sam is right behind him trying to get a kill. Ancestral Healing to boot, and everyone stays alive from Tempo Storm. 3 kills.
There's a lot of pressure already on the core. 3 catapults on Infamous's core. We see Falstad going for the back door. Jay Shrite getting the flight. There's no way he can win this race with the boss there. June and the rest of Tempo look like they're going to move in, say, we know you ain't have this. We're going to be just fine. They're going to move in, and I'm pretty sure they've got this.
70% and falling is the core of Infamous, and Tempo Storm will take game number 1 on Sky Temple.
Very impressive play coming out from Tempo. And Infamous, really. It just surprisingly competitive there. And it seems like that's going to be the story of this tournament.
Yeah, it's been so amazing to see even Nomiya getting a win off of Misfits, and I sometimes even wonder if Tempo Storm came into this watching that saying, okay, we need to doubly make sure that we are ready for anything Infamous throws our way.
But there were a significant amount of windows that Infamous could have turned that. And that being said, looking at the rest of the series, I by no means am looking at this going, Tempo's got this. I still think it could very much be an Infamous series here. So we'll see how it plays out in game number 2.
Well, we will be back for game number 2, but for now we're heading back to the analyst desk to hear what they thought of that game.
Yeah, Tempo Storm really looking good in game number 1, but even with that phenomenal draft that they had, we found Infamous find their groove and start to fight back in the later half of the game.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. The early game seemed to be a little bit off for Infamous. They had a couple of pickups that were kind of a little odd to see. And then after that big wipe in the bottom of the last 3, they decided, okay, we need to be a little bit more composed here. Like, Tempo Storms, they're kind of decent. And they had a couple moments where they did make a play where they killed a Tracer and a few, but obviously going into game number 2, they should play a little bit more reserved in the early game.
It almost seemed like that last call. The boss was, look, we're down 2, or we have 2 keeps down. We just took 1 down.
Yeah.
Let's just go all in. They hit 20. They're like, this is probably going to be one of our best chances to win. We have Falstad. We can try and take this. They got the boss. They committed.
Let's watch that again.
Yeah, we can actually probably take a look at that. That was a really good team fight. You almost wonder, did they overcommit though?
So for me, the biggest thing here is Cattle on the top right, the Dimensional Shift. I actually think he could have held that for a little bit longer, let his team engage. But regardless, the Mighty Gust coming out from J-Strit allowed for the team to grab the boss. They went for the engage, and if that Typhix Stormbolt hits, they maybe win the fight. Sadly, that did not occur. They overchased slightly too much, and Tempo Storm was able to turn this around. Fury in particular with the God tier stage dive. Well done.
One of the problems that I think they had was to just keep Ragnaros alive. You saw countless situations where in the team fights, Ragnaros just went a little bit too deep, oftentimes as the only one. Typhix was under pressure, was falling back a little bit. I'm not quite sure if it was a communication mistake or if just someone said, like, I got this kill and tries to go in. But Ragnaros falls too often in these situations, and all of a sudden they are finding themselves in a 4 versus 5. Also, we had ETC holding back his ult a lot in these team fights, and then they can just like chase them down and eliminate the entire team. So Tempo Storm playing a great game here. Infamous, I think if they get a few of those teamfight kinks out of the way, they might have a shot at taking at least one of the maps.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the game, like I said, I mean, it feels like they were more warmed up towards the end of it. So maybe they had to shake off those land jitters, get ready for gameplay, and we'll have to see what they can do in game 2. We're going to get ready for that, and we'll be back in just a few moments.
In our most desperate hour. Whoops! No, way too far. The Nexus! The marvelous anomaly to which the Bronze Dragonflight has sent me as their champion! Oh, hello again. Or is this the first time we've met? You might ask why, as a dragon, would I choose to be this size? Meh, it just works for me. I'm here to keep the very fabric of time and space from unraveling like that. Everyone knows it's not possible to be in several places at the same time. The past you, future you, and future super creepy you? That's different times at the same place, and that's when it gets fun! Don't worry, that's gonna get nerfed. Let's review. Through all time and space, there's more power hidden in the smallest things than you will ever know.
Experience has taught the Protoss that when we do not fight together, we die alone. But we shall not see defeat this day. For we stand as one. Our differences will not